Welcome back to Morning Rush. The podcast, The Retrievals, tells the harrowing story of 12 women who tried to get pregnant through in vitro fertilization treatments at a Yale University clinic. It was an excruciating process, but doctors and nurses dismissed the women's discomfort, saying the pain was in their minds, in their imaginations. What the women did not know was that one of their nurses was stealing their painkiller medications, replacing them with placebo medications. This 5-episode podcast from Serial Productions and the New York Times explores not only the women's pain, but also the lack of accountability for those who were responsible. The Retrievals is a finalist in the Scripps Howard Awards for excellence in audio storytelling. The awards are sponsored by our parent company, Scripps. And joining us now is Susan Burton, the host of The Retrievals. She investigated this story along with her colleagues, Julie Snyder and Laura Starcheski. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, what an incredible revelation for these women to know that they were validated by this. What were some of the most shocking and standout things that these women said to you as you spoke to them?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me on today. I think the thing that was most shocking to me when I started interviewing the patients who'd experienced this was simply the volume and the pattern. I talked to patient after patient whose stories contained similar details, saying that they'd told the healthcare providers in the room that they'd felt everything, but also that they'd blamed themselves for the pain. This was something I heard over and over again. And that kind of emotional response, that kind of self-blame was the thing that sort of showed me the important themes of this series.
Absolutely, and to speak to the numbers, a federal investigation eventually determined that as many as 200 women may have been treated at the clinic without proper anesthesia in 2020. You mentioned that emotional toll for the women and their families. Has there been any, accountability here for those behind this? Is there any sort of justice in this case for these families? Not that that offers any comfort, but maybe some closure.
So just recently, just last month, Yale and there were a number of patients who'd sued Yale University, and those patients and Yale reached a settlement, and the amount of that settlement remains confidential. But I think that has provided some closure, right? It doesn't change the fact that the patients had this experience, but I think that there was a sense that their voices had been listened to by this institution, that their voices had been heard.
And it's so striking, too, coming from such a legacy institution as Yale. So that's a trusted name and a hard pill to swallow for so many that this was coming from, that trusted source. But as you said, clearly an underlying theme here, people and people in medical, positions of power dismissing a woman's pain. What, if anything, has changed since your reporting has come to light? And what do you hope the impact is down the road?
Sure. At Yale specifically, it's hard for me to speak directly. I haven't seen any documents, for example, that document changes at Yale, although Yale, in press releases associated with the settlement, says that they have made changes toward safer drug storage and handling, and also changes in staffing. But I have been in conversation with many healthcare providers from all different institutions in the year since the podcast was released. And I know from those conversations that these are issues that are not only important to patients, but important to many healthcare providers. They care deeply about listening to patients. And this podcast has provoked conversations in their field, which is really wonderful.
Absolutely. Conversations that are so needed and so impactful. Susan Burton, host of the Retrievals podcast, thank you so much for all of your work on this and for your time this morning.
Of course. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, that's it for us here on Morning Rush. On the Scene begins in less than 3 minutes. Stay with us.